Good evening. My name is Rudi, and tonight we're gonna go through the CFDs on the software. So first of all, I just really want to explain what the concept is of CFDs. Now, CFDs is a little bit more different than what equities are. So equities runs on a one-to-one ratio. So for instance, if you buy 10,000 worth of shares, your shares will be worth 10,000 Rand. With CFDs, it works a bit different. Okay. So on CFDs, you get leverages or gearing ratios with a margin. All right. So the leverage is basically the amount that the bank will supply to you. All right. So the bank will supply an X amount extra to you when you buy a share. For instance, when you buy, let's say, 1,000 Rand worth of shares, and you're trading on Sibanye-Stillwater. Currently, Sibanye-Stillwater's leverage is sitting on 7.65. So it means that the bank will supply you an extra 7.65 on top of your amount that you put in. So it means that your 1,000 Rand will be worth 7,650 Rand. All right, so any amount that you put in will be multiplied by that amount by the leverage or gearing ratio. On Standard Bank, they talk about a gearing ratio and not a leverage. On our software side, you will see that we call it a leverage. Okay, and then also get a margin. All right, so the margin means that you're paying a marginal price on the original price. All right, so if you've got a gearing ratio of 7.65, your margin will be around about 8.70 per share. So you're only going to pay 8.70 per share, but the movement is going to be on the original price of the share and not on the 8 Rand. Okay, so there will be that difference, that price difference between the two, but you will still move on the original price. Okay, so to do that, how we're going to do that is we're going to go and use Sibanye-Stillwater as an example for that. Okay, so you're going to go to search at the top. All right, so if you've already done your analysis and you've gone through your analysis on the stocks page, you'll see underneath additional advisors, you will have a Sharetrackin 2020 advisor. Now, this already explained in my previous video in the Refined Advisors webinar, right? How to use the Sharetrackin 2020 Refined Advisor. Okay. So first of all, you're just gonna, there where it says Sharetrackin 2020, after you've added it, you're gonna type in open, and it's going to give you all your open positions, either with a short or a long. So it's going to tell you if you need to short the share or if you have to long the share. Now, that's another difference between CFDs and equities. Equities, you can trade one way, all right, in a bullish trend. So when I open my charts IQ, I take SSW as my example. I will only be able to trade in a bullish trend, all right, so in one direction. All right, when you're trading CFDs, you can trade up and down. You can trade both ways. So up we will call a long, and down you will call a short. All right, so you either open a long position or you open a short position. So it's not buying and selling. The banks still call it buying and selling, but you'll see, for instance, some platforms call it open a position in a long or open a position in a short. All right, so when you open position in a long, you are saying that the share is going to go up. It works the same with binary options. With a binary option, you either say buy or sell. All right, it's going to go into a buy direction or a sell direction. So you can make money in an upwards or a downwards trend. So with the equity, for instance, you will buy the share when it's at a low point, all right, and then sell it when it's at a high for a long term. Okay, so that would be a long-term investment. A trade doesn't work like that. A trade is a short-term thing. So you will place a buy order or open a position over there in a long, and you will close the position over there. So you buy low, sell high. So that's a quick trade. All right, the longest you can do that is around about 2 weeks for a CFD trade. All right, where equity you can hold for a long term. Right. We usually recommend from a week to 2 weeks for your longer term trades, but for investment you can go long term. Okay, so when you want to do a short, then what you do is instead of buying low or opening position at the bottom, you open a position at the top, but in a short. okay, and then close the position once the RSI reaches a bottom, and then you basically sell out. All right, so that's for in a downward trend. It is confusing for some people to understand, why can I make money in a downward trend? Well, Forex does the same thing. With Forex trading, it's the exact same principle. You're either trading against the rand or for the rand, right? With so if you're trading US dollar versus South African rand, so either trading against it or with it. So if you're trading against it, you're saying that the dollar is going to go, or the rand is going to go down. If you're trading with the rand, then you're saying the rand is going to go up. So it's the same principle with CFDs. Okay. So if you want to do a short, then look at all the shorts. So that's your downward trades, and the long will be your upward trades. Okay, so if you wanted to place, let's say, a long position on SSW, all right, so you just type the code at the top, or you could have just clicked on the share on the Sharetrackin 20 advisor, okay, and then click on buy shares. Then change your simulation to your trader account, right? If you do not have a trader account or a CFD account, okay, to open one on the software, you go to accounts, manage accounts. Okay, so let's quickly do this. I'm just going to delete my old one. Okay, so I don't have a trader account. I only have investment accounts. So if I want to go and add a trader account, I go to account types. I select trader account. I enter my account name. So let's say CFD or any name that you want to give it. Enter the amount that you want. So I want 100,000 in that account, and then the date. All right, so the date would be the 1st of April, and then click on create, and it will create a trader account. All right, so that's different from your investment dashboard account. It would be on your trader dashboard. Okay, so there's your trader account. So I want to place a trade now on this account. So I'm going to go to search, enter the code, click on the share, say buy shares, and change it from CFD or from simulation to CFD or trader or whatever you named it. Now you'll see that there's a bit of a difference between the two. With a simulation account or any other investment account, you will only have the option to enter in the amount of shares that you want to buy, and then also the comment that you want to, why you want to buy the share, either technical or fundamental. All right, so those are the normal rules. If you do it on a CFD account, you will have two extra. You will have the leverage, which I've spoken about earlier, which is your gearing ratio, and then the margin, the percentage margin of the original price. Okay, so this morning, SSW was, for instance, 65 Rand per trade. Now it's 65.88, so it went up. Okay, so you could have said, I wanted to open a long position because it went up. Okay, so over here with your leverage, this you will find on Standard Bank, for instance, when you change your type of shares that you want to trade to CFD, you enter your code and then get a quote on it. Now the quote will give you the gearing. That gearing you need to come and fill in over here. So let's say the gearing is 7.65 currently for SSW, right? It will automatically change the margin for you. So you're only paying 13.07% of the original price. You're not paying full price per share. You're paying 13.07%, which would be around about 8.73 Rand per share. Okay, so then you need to enter your amount of shares to trade. All right, so let's say I want 125 shares, all right, or CFDs. It will give me my required margin. All right, so my required margin is 1,076 Rand and 47 cents, but my exposure, the total cost on the right hand side, will be 8,235. Okay, so that's what my shares will be worth. Okay, so that works with each and every invest or each and every trade. You will have a higher exposure due to the leverage. So it would take your 7.65 times that by the margin will give you your total cost. Okay, but there will be a little bit of a price difference between Standard Bank and our software. Reason for that is because we don't include the brokerage. All right, the brokerage will only be included by the bank. Reason being is because Standard Bank, FNB, and Nedbank, the brokerage fees differ. All right, so once you've selected your share, you've selected your amount of shares to trade, you know what your margin is, what you're going to pay. So you're only going to pay that amount on required margin. And then your total cost is basically what your exposure would be, right? So that's what my shares are going to be worth due to the leverage and the margin. And then I enter my comment. So let's say, for instance, SBK trade, so Standard Bank trade that you've done, and then you choose your position. Do you want to open a long or a short position? That depends on the direction of the share. As I said earlier, for instance, this one would be a long. Okay, so this one over here, it looks like the share still wants to go up. Right, RSI has crossed. Stochastic still needs to give you the crossover, but your RSI would be your main one. So your relative strength index would be stronger than what the stochastic is. I would say yes. Okay, let's take a long position on this one, and we can see that there was a price change from this morning, 65 rand, up until now with 65.88. Okay, so I'll open a long. I just click on open long position. I will confirm that I've opened the position. If I wanted to say short, I just click on short. So now when I go back to my trader dashboard, the share would go down there. Okay, in your investment summary for your CFD account. All right. If you want to close the position, all you do is you go to action. So that's once you've made your profits and you're happy with your profits, click on action, click on close position. So it's not sell, it's called close. All right. Because if you placed a short, you can't go and sell a short. Okay, you're closing the position on a short, and you're closing the position on a long. Equities, you would say sell. All right, because there's one direction which you're trading. Okay. So then you enter your comment. So let's say, for instance, your target value has been reached, and then you just say close position, and it closes the position for you, and it takes the share away. All right. Then you can go over to your next one and do the same. So we usually recommend going on, let's say, three different CFDs with at least two investments, so that your trades have something to fall back onto. Or you can go three investments with two CFDs, so that your CFDs has something to fall back onto. All right. There is just one other thing. Let's say, for instance, you bought a share like today, but you did not want to close the position today. Okay, and you want to, let's say, close the position tomorrow. All right, then you will pay an overnight fee. Right, through Standard Bank, it's 0.25% of your initial margin. Right, so your initial margin in this case would have been 1,000 rand. Right, so if we go back to SSW, we take that same share, we say we want to buy shares. CFD, we change this to what the ratio is. Sorry, buy shares. We change CFD. We change that to 7.65, and then we enter our amount. So you will pay 0.25% of the initial margin, all right, for an overnight fee. That would be anything in this case, something like anything between 5 and 10 rand per night that you leave the share overnight. All right, because it's not an equity that you pay once off brokerage, you will pay an overnight brokerage as well if you leave the CFD there. Okay, and once you sell it, that overnight fee obviously stops, and you pay your selling brokerage which would be the same as your buying brokerage. All right, so your buying brokerage is 57 rand 50 through Standard Bank, and your selling brokerage would be 57 rand 50. All right, so the exact same. On equity, it's a bit different. You'll pay higher brokerages, but what you won't pay overnight fees, all right, because it's a long-term investment. All right. So CFDs, the differences basically between the two is you can long and short on a CFD, where with the equity you can only trade in the upward direction, and your brokerage fees differ a bit, but you're also working with leverages and margins, where leverage is the amount of times your amount that you put in would be timed by, as I said, 1,000 rand times the leverage, in this case, which was 7.65. 1,000 rand worth of shares would give me 7,560 rand worth of shares. But I'm also not paying full price. I'm only paying 13% of the original price, which would be in this case around about 8.70 rand per share. Okay, so CFDs sometimes sounds difficult to understand, but if if you take it like I just explained it, it's a little bit easier to understand. Okay. But if you are a bit concerned and you still don't understand it, you are more than welcome to go back to the educational page underneath webinars, live webinar archive, and go watch the video that I did on refined advisors, because I explain more or less the same thing in the refined advisors. So that would be video number, let me just see here. There's the SMS notifications. There we go. So 219. Okay, so over there on, oh, sorry, 319. So on 319, I explained to you how to use the Sharetrackin 2020 Refined Advisor, because that's to do with CFDs, and I also explain how to do your trades on your trader dashboard for CFDs. Okay, or what you can do is, if you do not, you don't understand that, you're more than welcome to contact me by sending a query, or go to contact us. Give me a call on the 02 number, or during the day on the 012 number. Okay. I just want to see something. Yeah. Okay, never mind. All right. So yeah, so that's the basics of the CFDs. If you've got any more questions, you're more than welcome to give me a call, and then I'll answer all your questions for you. Okay, so have a great evening further, and then we'll speak next week, when we're gonna explain to you how the convergences and divergences work.